I'm going to share with you what I consider to be the absolute best way to play Black Myth Wukong if you care about clean graphics. Let me disclose with you that I am a little bit biased with this one because the mod was created by a member of our community, Hybrid, and he also has a YouTube channel. We did a live stream with Hybrid, he is a developer. But regardless, this looks so much better, and the reason is he simply turned off TAA. Okay? So when you turn off TAA, it looks so much more clear. Now the problem is there are some fine details, like all these pine leaves, that are going to shimmer a little bit. But at 4K, it's not terrible. But there might be some other elements on the game, like fur or something like that, that might look completely broken. But that's the issue we have with TAA today. These developers know we're gonna use TAA anyway, so we're just gonna blur the low pixel density stuff. And in my opinion, that's a terrible idea. Why would you do that? Why would you just hide the issues? Just give me a different art design for the leaves. I don't care them to be so thin. Make them thicker. You know, use art. This doesn't look realistic anyway. These leaves don't look realistic at all. Okay? So just use art. Don't try to blur things so they are tolerable. So it looks, I don't know, it just doesn't make any sense in my opinion to add more polygon complexity if you then have to go ahead and blur everything with TAA. It's a mess in my opinion. This is so much better. So what I'm going to recommend is for you to turn off TAA using this mod that I'm going to share with you, link in the description of the video. Here is the mod, and of course turn off the sharpening that this has with the mod that I previously shared. So on the link in the description of this video, I'm going to have two mods, one to remove the sharpening and the second one to remove TAA. Now he also has here, and this is free by the way, you can support the developer if you decide to do so. He has Patreon, and you can support it through Nexusmods, I believe, too. I'm not sure. But he has three options here, and this is free. You can get a DLSS improvement, and he also has the oversharpening fix here covered. And this might be the way that most people are gonna play the game anyway, because 4K is very demanding. And if you turn off TAA, you don't have upscaling available. So you would have to use frame generation, at least myself, just to get 60, I have to use frame gen. So 60 FPS with frame gen is a no-go to actually play the game. But I have to do it just to see how it would look. The input lag might be terrible too. He also has an option to get more performance. He calls this Retro AA Performance Boost. I have not tried this one. So he's saying here that this retro filter allows you to reduce your resolution further than usual, boosting performance without negative side effects since it fits the aesthetic. So it might look retro, and so you can lower the resolution anyway because it's not gonna be a big deal. I'm not sure how this looks, I have not tried this. But this is the one I would recommend. TAA off improved. So he disables TAA and he replaces that with its own motion blurless anti-aliasing. Okay, so he's adding some anti-aliasing too. This removes effects that cause extra aliasing, and it is optional. This is definitely the way to go if you have the power. Now, I want to also share with you a little bit about, this is kind of being affected with all the back and forth I've been doing. Usually that artifacts, that texture popping in, it usually doesn't happen. Yeah, it's an issue, it seems now, with me going in and out of the game. But let me share with you also how you can, and as you can see, this thing, every time I turn on the afterburner, because I am using the same hotkey, it would disable this effect. So let me share with you also how you can use this reshade add-on that is called Shader Toggler, which is one thing that he used to remove TAA. And you can also use this to remove things like fog or maybe the HUD. So maybe you're playing a game that has a very annoying HUD that you don't need, or you just want to turn it off because you're concerned about burning or something like that. It's very bright, you want to remove it. You can use this reshade add-on that is called Shader Toggler to do that. So let me show you how this works, because it might be a little bit complicated for some people to get it working. You need the game running. So if you are on the main menu of the game, you are not going to get all the shaders and all the stuff needed, because it's not going to load if the calls are not happening, basically. So when you have the benchmark running, or maybe you're playing a game and you want to remove the fog, but let's say you are on a different place that doesn't have fog, then you run this, and then the fog, vertex shader or whatever that's called, is not going to be loaded. It's not going to be identified by this. It's not going to be intercepted by this add-on because it's not there. So you have to make sure the game is running and the effect that you want to remove is also running. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna come here and click on New, and you're going to click on Change Shader, and you will see that this thing is going to collect the active shaders, and you're going to have here 3 things to circle around. You're going to have vertex shaders, pixel shaders, and compute shaders. Now, what's the difference between them? I don't know. You can Google that. So you have to basically try one by one and see if you find what you're looking for. So the thing is, for example, if you want to remove the fog is going to disappear once you find it. So here's what you're gonna do. You have 1, 2, 4, 5, and 7, 8. So you're gonna find your pixel shader here, circling around with 1, 2. So you can just press 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2 until you find it. You're gonna circle around your, compute shaders with 1 and 2, pixel shaders with 4 and 5, and vertex shaders with 7 and 8. So for example, the fog, I believe it was a pixel shader. Let me see if it was this one. Yeah, here it is. The fog is the pixel shader right now, the 21. No, actually a vertex shader. Vertex shader 21 out of 126. But if you're playing the game on a different place, it might be a different number because this thing is loading more shaders. So instead of having 21 out of 126, you might have 200 shaders. So then it will be a different number. So this is something that you can try. See, the smoke, the fog effect, you can remove it. So before, after, before, after. Now the thing is, the fog is causing the black level rays to be worse, a little bit worse. but removing it, it doesn't fix the black level race, and it's not worth it because then the colors get messed up, because it seems like they did the color grading, if they did any color grading or any color work for the game, they did it with the fog, and it seems like the fog is everywhere and it washes out the colors a little bit. So if you remove the fog, then these green colors and everything looks overly saturated, which you might like, so you can still give it a try. But the thing is, removing the fog from the game is not fixing the black level race. It's not fixing the black level completely, and it might not be worth it because yeah, you're missing out also. It's not gonna remove all the fog from the game, but it's gonna remove some, and you might be missing out. Let me show you another example with Lies of P. I'm going to remove the fog in Lies of P so you see how it looks like. Okay, so here's Lies of P. We have fog everywhere, okay? And this is the atmosphere that the developers are going with here. Of course, you don't want to remove everything, but it's not terrible either, even on this scene. And the game looks more clear. The thing is, for the rest of the game, for here I understand, for the rest of the game I think they just did it too much. So let me, look, I have one shader toggler to remove the HUD on the fly. So I just press here and remove the HUD completely. And I like that. On the fly I can change it back and forth. Although this game lets you remove it, I believe. But then you have to pause the game when you need it, go back. So here you just have a toggle, and that's very useful for many, many games. And I also have, let me see, what's the hotkey? Okay, here it is. So with this other hotkey, I can remove the fog. So now, of course, you still have some fog, so it's okay. But of course, it completely changes the mood of the game. Now you can see, things in the very far away distance, which looks okay. It doesn't look broken or anything. And if I didn't know all this fog was there, I wouldn't mind. I would be like, okay, I see some fog here. It makes sense. But I can actually see the enemies, so that might be... I can see it with the fog, but I can see them less, definitely. I can see them much better without the fog. Now, this texture at the distance looks very bad. So if I get closer, I'm gonna see popping. See all this popping, see? And I would not see that with the fog. Okay, so yeah, you're definitely, it's okay for the developers to put fog and then use this to hide textures popping in. I am okay with that, but in my opinion they just did it too much with this game. And in many games we have the fog messing up everything, and it's not worth it, man. It's not worth it, because it raises the black floor, and the game looks kind of washed out. That's why. So yeah, let me know your thoughts and opinions, and if you have any questions.